Who are the kings of the East? Simple question. And in order to answer this question, guys, it's going to take a lot of information. It's a great mystery. The prophecy is purposefully hidden from the wicked. So the wicked would be proud and arrogant and deceived because of their own wicked ways, and they would not understand the prophecy. That's what it says in Daniel. The book is sealed up until the times of the end. The wicked shall do wickedly, they shall not understand, but the wise shall understand. Okay? So what that means is the prophecy is hidden from the wicked. All right? So, for example, if you look at Nebuchadnezzar's dream, you look at Pharaoh's dream, he had a dream, he had a vision, he had a prophecy. Now, that prophecy and dream was hidden from the understanding of the astrologers, of the soothsayers around the king. They could not interpret the dream, the prophecy. Okay? There was a person that was raised up to interpret. Daniel was raised up. Joseph was raised up to interpret the dream, to give the answer. So the same thing in the book of Revelation. It is a vision, dream, or prophecy. Okay? And it is difficult to understand. It's not easy. Okay? Many of you are just lay people, regular people. You think you can pick up the book of Revelation, understand it. No. There's mysteries in there that you won't understand unless you really, really dig deep. Now, yes, you can go on commentaries and look at what people said, but you don't actually know what it's talking about until you're in it. Okay, once the prophecy is nigh. Okay? So, this is very important because many of the prophecies, okay, you'll say, okay, the prophecy is going to be just like this. Okay, if it's just like this, this is what the Bible says, this is what it's our interpretation, it's going to be exactly like this. If it doesn't happen like this, then it didn't happen. Well, that's, of course, what the Satan wants to do, is give false interpretation to prophecy. So once the prophecy actually happens, it happens differently than what the people expect. So they deny the prophecy. They deny the tribulation. They deny all these things. Why? Because they're wicked. They can't understand. Okay? But the wise will understand. So we get to Revelation. We have the seventh angel with the seventh bowl. And you see the sixth angel with the sixth bowl. And he pours out his bowl on the great river Euphrates. Sixth bowl. And the waters of the Euphrates were dried up. Okay, this is a physical sign. Okay? The waters, the Euphrates River, we know where it is. It's the same name since the Garden of Eden. That's the Euphrates, okay? And it says the waters will be dried up. This is a big river, all right? And so this is a significant sign, okay, that the waters will be dried up. Why? To make a way for the kings of the East. Okay, so when you try to reason in your mind what that's saying and what that's talking about, you say, well, the kings of the East are on the other side of the river. It is some nation. And the sixth trumpet also talks about the Euphrates. So they must be the same thing. It must be China. China must have a 200 million army. They're the only country that big that could have that big. No. All of that is false interpretation. It is not actually what the Bible says. The Bible does not say China. You cannot prove that by 2 or 3 witnesses, by other scriptures. Okay, maybe it happens. We'll see. But don't put all your eggs in that basket if you can't prove it by multiple scriptures. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to prove the prophecy by multiple scriptures. How you do that is by this. It's a seal. You can see it says Isaiah the prophet, his seal impression. So this was discovered as belonging to Isaiah the prophet. And so what that means is in archaeology, actual seal impressions are found. And what that means is the book of Daniel, he says the book is sealed up until the times of the end. So many of the seals of the people in the Bible have been discovered in Israel as an indication that the prophecy is being released. Okay, so the book of Isaiah will contribute. Okay, so we're going to give you 5 witnesses to who the kings of the East are in this video. Okay, we're going to... We can read it in Revelation, but who are the kings of the East? It has to tell us. Okay, it's difficult, guys. It's a deep mystery. It's gonna elude the mind of a lot of people. It's not gonna be easily understood. So we're gonna explain in this video We read it in Revelation. First off, you have Daniel. Everything that you interpret in Revelation, you should see in Daniel. 80-90%. Okay, Zechariah the prophet. We're going to display some of the things here and explain to you how Zechariah shows us this particular order. Book of Esther, prophet Jeremiah, prophet Isaiah. 5 witnesses who are the kings of the east. We're going to allow the scriptures to interpret themselves, not think in our mind what that is talking about. Okay? So, let's talk about what we have here, because it's very important for you to understand the spiritual concepts and constructs of what the book of Revelation is doing with symbolism. It's all symbolism. It's all things around the throne. And these are difficult for you to understand, I know, so I do props so you can physically see what the scriptures are saying. Because I could say it and you won't understand, but if I show it to you, maybe you will, maybe not. Okay. First off, the book of Revelation works around the throne. Okay? The throne is good. The throne is God. Okay? How we get into false interpretation is by taking something good and making it evil. That's what it said. The people would, speak evil of good things in the last days. And that comes as the prophecy. All right. So let's look at the sequence of the prophecy and what it tells us in Zechariah. Okay, of a particular order. This order is very important. First off, in Zechariah chapter 1, the first thing we see is horses and horse riders. The first he sees is a red horse. He also sees a white horse, and another one is sorrel. Sorrel is kind of like between red and white. Okay, he sees these horses. Okay, and these horses are performing certain tasks. Then he sees 4 horns. Now, the 4 horns are representative of the altar. This is a replica of the golden altar. Okay, and the golden altar and the altar of sacrifice, you have 4 horns at the corners. Okay, so what this means is that he sees 4 horns spiritually. I mean, he sees this in a vision, these 4 horns. These 4 horns that he sees relate to the prophecy of the fulfillment of what Moses was told to do on the altar of incense and the golden altar. Why? It's war. War is sacrifice. Okay, sacrifice means that you're sacrificing the wicked as a sacrifice. That's what Armageddon is. It's a sacrifice of the wicked. So these 4 horns, okay, are the horse riders. Okay, you can see it there. So what happened is after 70 years, when Jerusalem was destroyed, it was scattered by these horse riders. It was scattered by them. So Jerusalem in Judah represented Babylon. They had turned to Babylon. They had turned apostate. So when they turned apostate, God judgment with the horse riders. These horse riders are then, Zechariah sees 4 horns, and then he says, "Who are these, my Lord?" He says, "These are those that scattered Judah and Israel." Then he sees 4 carpenters. You can see him holding a hammer. "And who are these, my Lord?" he says. And he says, "These 4 carpenters are the 4 horns." Okay? And then he says, "These horns will cast out the horns of the Gentiles." So what that means is these are the same horse riders. They're expressed by 4 horns. They are 4 carpenters. And it's talking about Armageddon. Because the horns of the Gentiles are the 10 horns on the beast. Okay? So this is Armageddon. This is war. This is very important for you to understand these principles as we get into the order of the kings of the east. Okay? Now, the other thing we want to explain is we're discussing the 6th bowl. The angel has a 6th bowl. Okay? You have the 6th bowl. Now, let's take a step back. We're going to take a step back. And we're going to go to the 6th trumpet. Okay? So you get the 6th trumpet. And it's a different angel, but it's a 6th trumpet, and it's a particular order. So what happened to the 6th trumpet? Let's explain it real quick. Okay. Just how we explained to you the 4 horns in Zechariah, well, John sees a voice coming from the 4 horns of the golden altar. The same 4 horns that we saw in Zechariah are the same 4 horns in Revelation chapter 9, verse 13. John hears a voice coming from the 4 horns. Okay, how of the golden altar? Is the golden altar talking? No, it is representative of the horse riders in the order. This is all order, okay? So then what it says, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. Okay? Loose the 4 angels. So the 4 angels are the 4 horns, which are the 4 horse riders, and release them from the great river Euphrates. Now, it's a parable. It's a metaphor. The angels are not in the altar. Okay? The angels are not in the river. It's a parable. Okay? It's a metaphor. What you would have to do, now if you think in your mind, you read that, you say, okay, there's angels in the river. Okay, and then they're going to come out of the river at the 6th trumpet. No, it's a parable. You have to find somewhere else in the scriptures that describe what that is. And what that is judgments on Babylon. Okay, so that army, 200 million army, is to bring judgment on Babylon. It's the Lord of Hosts army. It's supposed to be you. You're supposed to be in that. You're supposed to understand that. All right, now Jeremiah tells Zechariah that, you see that seal? That seal says Sariah, son of Neriah. Okay? We actually have a proof, just like the Isaiah seal. We have what happened is Jeremiah wrote in the scroll all the judgments on Babylon, wrote it in the scroll. He's told Sariah to go to Babylon, read this in the ears of the people, take a stone, apply it to that scroll, take the scroll, throw it in the great river Euphrates. Okay, so what did he do? He bound a stone. Okay, so the angels are not in the river. The scroll is in the river. Okay, the scroll is in the river. And how you release the scroll is you have the seal of the person that threw it there, Sariah. Understand? So it is the stone that is cast in the river, and then in the end of days, the scroll will be released. What is a scroll? The scroll is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and 51. In that is the judgments of Babylon, and the stone being cast down. Okay, Babylon is fallen. That is the order of what is taking place that I'm showing you. What do you have? You have the 4 horns, you have the 4 horse riders, you have the 4 carpenters. You have to understand all of that to understand the kings of the East. Okay, we have 4 pages of notes. We have a lot to cover, and you can see we're going to start off. We have the order. So there's a perfect order of how this works, guys. There's a perfect order throughout the prophecy. I know it's confusing, but it's easy to understand once you understand the symbolic nature of the prophecy. Okay, so here we have Revelation, here we have Daniel, here we have Zechariah, here we have Esther. Here we have Jeremiah. So Jeremiah, remember, it's the Jeremiah scroll, which is Jeremiah chapter 50 and 51 that was thrown in the great river Euphrates. And we're also going to see who the kings are in Isaiah. Okay, so we have our seals. Here's our seal of the prophet Isaiah. Here's our seal for Sariah. Okay, if we can get a focus there. Okay, so that's his seal impression. Okay, released in the end of days to explain the mystery of who are the kings of the East. Okay, now let's get right to it, guys. And what we can see first off, as we compare scripture to scripture, we're going to look, of course, at Revelation and Daniel. Okay, so Revelation and Daniel should have perfect agreement and orders, and they do. Okay, now as we explained before, we have to take a step back. So we showed you the 6th angel poured out his bowl. All right, so we can see an order there. The 6th angel sounded the trumpet. Okay, so there you see a trumpet. There you saw a bowl. And we could see, I watched when the Lamb opened one of the 7 seals. Okay, so think of the 7 seals. Okay, like our seal here. Here we go. Belonging to Sariah of Neriah. Okay, so this is one of the seals that is released along with the Isaiah seal. Okay, so we have to take a step back. Now let's go back to our prophecy and let's look at what it says here. Revelation chapter 16, verse 12. The 6th angel poured out his bowl upon the great river Euphrates, and the waters were dried up that the way of the kings of the East. Now, east here, you read in most English translations, actually two Greek words. Anatoli, which means rising, and Helios, which means sun. So this expression, rising sun, is also used of one of the angels in Revelation chapter 7, verse 2. So just like we could see the seals, okay, so during the sixth seal, you can see an angel, he had the seal of God. It came from the rising sun, okay? So the kings of the east, the kings of the rising sun might be prepared, okay? So these, of course, are an order of the four angels in Revelation 9:15. Okay, the sixth angel sounded the trumpet, and I heard a voice, one, the four horns of the golden altars. That's why we explained to you who are the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God saying, loose the four angels which are bound on the great river Euphrates. Okay, so what is the prophecy? It is a scroll. Okay, it is the scroll of Jeremiah the prophet, chapter 50 and 51 of the judgments on Babylon. That's what's in the river, not the angels. Okay? So, we have an important distinction here, okay, of voice one. So voice, you have the sixth angel, but you get voice one. So what is voice one? We're going to explain to that in a second. Keep that in mind. All right, so that would be prepared, okay? So the kings of the east were what? Prepared. And here you can see the four angels are prepared to make ready for an hour, a day, a month, and a year for to slay a third of men. This is Armageddon. Okay, so you can see the sixth bowl was referring to Armageddon, all right, and the mark of the beast, which we'll see, and the sixth trumpet is assembling of the Lord of hosts army for what? Armageddon. Okay, so here you can see that the kings of the east are being associated with the four angels. Okay, now voice here in the Greek is Mayan, which means one. Now the order of one here is referring to the four angels, one of which is Michael. Michael is the first, okay? So, for example, Michael and Gabriel are archangels. Okay, they're in an order of 4 and 7. But when it says one, we can see that this is talking about Michael, the archangel. We can prove that through the book of Daniel. But let's keep going, and when we go back and we take another step, and we go back to the seals, Revelation 6:1, I watched when he had the Lamb had opened one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures. Now, where are the living creatures? They're before the throne. Okay, saying like a voice of thunder, come and see. And what does he see? He sees a white horse, he sees a red horse, he sees a black horse, and a pale horse. Okay, so here you can see in the 7 seals, the horse riders are released. This is the Lord of hosts army. Okay. And as the prophecy continues, you see Revelation 7:2, and the angel ascending from the east. Anatoli, rising, Helios, sun. Okay? So when he rises, there are 4 angels standing in the 4 corners holding the 4 winds. This is part of the Lamb. It's his throne. Okay? So the horse riders are coming from the throne. The 4 angels that are in the Euphrates scroll, okay? They're coming from the golden altar, which is before God. Okay? So nothing that we're showing you thus far is the devil or the Antichrist or the false prophet or any of that. Okay? All of this is before the throne. So there you can see we had to take a step back as we talk about these kings of the east and to talk about these orders in order to find the mystery in the book of Daniel. So once we understand that, we go to book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 10. Okay, in Daniel chapter 10, I encourage you to read the whole thing. But in particular, Daniel sees in the spirit realm the interactions between the Lord of hosts army and the principalities and powers of the forces leading to Armageddon. Okay? So Daniel 10:13, it says, the prince of the kingdom of Persia, okay, withstood me. Okay. So we'll see that who's talking here is Gabriel. Gabriel's talking, he's saying, the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me. Okay, so just like the angels were bound, you can see angel Gabriel is bound, okay, in the same manner. So what we can see here is one, the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood Gabriel. Okay, so that's a principality power. This is like the beast of Revelation. You can see it here. The beasts are principalities. So one of them is called the Prince of Persia. Another one's called the Prince of Greece. Okay? Now we can relate these to Armageddon and the war as they fight each other. Persia being the bear, Greece being the leopard. This is the war, east against west. This is World War III, as we're clearly stating. So we have the beasts and principalities being described by the angel Gabriel. The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. Okay, but Michael, one of the chief or first princes. Okay, so just like we saw previously in Revelation, okay, we saw the trumpet, we saw voice one. Okay, voice one of the four angels. Okay, so here we can see Michael as one of the chief or first princes. So the first princes, he's one of the four archangels. There's also 7 archangels, but he is the first of both orders. Okay, so because he is first, he came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Okay, simply understood, what do we have? We have bad guys and good guys. Bad guys, Prince of Kingdom of Persia. Bad guys, Prince of Greece. Good guys, Michael. Good guys, kings of Persia. So here we can see the mystery of the kings of Persia. The angel Gabriel visits the kings of Persia and was there 21 days. Now, I'm not going to simply explain that to you guys. This is just relating to who are the kings of the East, representing the kings of the East, okay? Then we get to Daniel chapter 10, verse 20, and it's Armageddon. Now will I return and fight with the prince of Persia. So we fought with the prince of Persia. Michael helped him. He's going to go back and fight the king of Persia again. And when I am gone forth, the prince of Greece shall come. Okay, so now what it's talking about, the prince of Persia, these are the principalities and powers, and these are wars, the ancient wars in Daniel chapter 8, talking about Persia and Greece and the end of days Armageddon scenario. Persia, Greece, east, west. Okay? Verse 21, now none holds me to these things but Michael, your prince. Okay? Now we do learn that from Daniel 9:1 in verse 21. This is Gabriel, because Gabriel strengthened him, okay, in the first year of Darius. And you can see the first year of Darius in Daniel 9:1 and 21. All right. So here we can see the interaction of the principalities and powers, and within it, the mystery of the kings of Persia. Okay, so they're in there telling us about the kings of the East. Now, the other thing we see here in Daniel 10, verse 4 is Daniel was by the side of the great river Hiddekel. All right, so we have, in similar fashion to the great river Euphrates and the bowl being poured out in the kings of the East, here you have the great river Hiddekel, which is the Tigris. Okay, Tigris being west of the Euphrates. So what have we learned? We have learned that there are principalities and powers, Persia and Greece, Armageddon, World War III, the kings of Persia, representing the kings of the East, and in Daniel, these are the saints that possess the kingdom. We can see Michael, the archangel, okay? He's also in Daniel 12:1. And you can see the war of Michael, the archangel, with the dragon in the war in heaven of Revelation 12. And we have Gabriel. So all of that are particular orders that we can see, and we can see the mystery of the kings of the East as the kings of Persia visited by the angel Gabriel in Daniel chapter 10. So there we can see one view of the kings of the East, okay? Now, in order to understand this, in order to understand the heavenly military order of who are the kings of the East, we have to go through the order of Zechariah, okay, and the order of Esther. Let's remember before the things we told you, we have the 4 horse riders, okay? We have the 4 horse riders, we have the 4 horns, and we have the 4 carpenters, okay? So remember how we showed you all those things, because all those are in Zechariah chapter 1, telling us about this military order. Zechariah 1:8, I saw by night a man riding a red horse, and he stood among the myrtle trees. Now, myrtle in Hebrew is Hadassah, and Esther's previous name before she was changed to Esther was Hadassah. Hadassah means myrtle. Okay, so you got the horse riders in the midst of the myrtle trees, in the midst of the 144,000 that were in the ravine. So the ravine here is referring to the river. Okay, so just like we had the river, Euphrates, and the kings of the east, all right, now we have the river or the ravine and the horse riders, a red horse. And behind him were red horses, sorrel, and white. Okay, so here we have the order of the horse riders, the military order. And then verse 12, O Yahweh of hosts, when will you have mercy on Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, you who you've had indignation these 70 years, and the earth stood still and is at rest? Okay, so these are the Daniel 70 years, okay? These 70 years are 70 weeks in Daniel, and the earth is at rest. Okay, verse 12, lift of my eyes, I saw 4 horns. And he said, who are they? These are the horns, or horse riders, previously mentioned, which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. So when we saw the horse riders before, in the ravine by the river, they had scattered Judah and Jerusalem. They have brought judgments and destruction to Jerusalem, and it was coming to the conclusion of those 70 years. Then verse 20, and Yahweh showed me 4 carpenters. Okay, who are the carpenters? What come these to do? And he said, these are the 4 horns. So the 4 carpenters are the 4 horns which scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. All right, now we have a mystery here. We have the 4 carpenters. Okay, the 4 carpenters that no man would lift up his head. So this would also have to have a end times fulfillment. And of course, we do see that end times fulfillment in Revelation 18. So the mighty angel cast the great millstone. Let me move that up so you can see on the screen. Okay. So the mighty angel cast the great millstone into the sea, saying, Babylon is thrown down. Then verse 21, no craftsman or carpenter or whosoever craft shall be found any more in you. Okay, so the craftsman is referring to the carpenters. Okay, and what did the carpenters do? They brought destruction to Babylon, so that no man did lift up his head. No man lifting up his head means the craftsmen and the carpenters cannot work. Craftsman and carpenter, whatsoever craft shall be found no more in you. And it also says the sound of the millstone will be heard no more in you. Okay? So this is judgment on Babylon. Zechariah 1:21, the 4 carpenters or horns are come to terrify them, to cast down the horns of the nations. Now the horns of the nations are the 10 horns. This is Armageddon, guys. Armageddon has a perfect order of what you're seeing here. This is what is happening. Okay, so the 10 horns are the horns of the nations which lifted up their horn against and over the land of Judah to scatter it. Okay, so this is a Armageddon-like scene being described of the 4 carpenters going to war against the 4 horns. Okay, Revelation 17:12, the 10 horns which you saw shall make war with the Lamb. That's the horns of the nations. This is what's going on. You may not be aware of anything I'm saying, but everything that you're in the news and is happening is fulfilling the prophecy perfectly. Then in Zechariah, so that was Zechariah 1 we read, and Zechariah 2, deliver yourself, O Zion, that dwells with the daughter of Babylon. So that means come out of Babylon, my people. Okay? So that the plagues and judgments that come on Babylon don't come on you. All right? Flee from the land of the north, because I spread you before the 4 winds of heaven. So the 4 winds of heaven is also an expression to describe the 4 carpenters, the 4 horns, and the 4 horse riders. It's all the same thing, guys. It's all a order, okay? A pattern, okay? So this pattern is also seen of who are these kings of the east. Kings of the east are likened unto the Magi. When Christ came in his first coming, really the only ones that knew he was coming and actually saw him as a child, looking for his coming, was Anna, Simeon, and the Magi. That's it. No one else knew. So that Magi in that order is the kings of the East. So in Esther, they are also described in this manner. So remember how we saw Esther? Her name means Hadassah. So these horse riders are in the midst of the myrtle trees. Hadassah means myrtle. Okay? So in Esther 1:13, and the king said to the wise men, like the Magi, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner towards all that knew the law and judgment. And next to him were Karshena, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsena, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media. Okay, so these are the wise men. These are who the kings of the East are, guys. Okay, this is the order of the kings of the East, which saw the king's face, which sat first in the kingdom. So, yes, the kings of the East are those that sit first in the kingdom. They are in an order, either of 7, of 4. It's hard to say with absolute certainty, but they will bring war and judgment and destruction and lead in Armageddon. Okay, now let's go back and let's continue with who are the kings of the East. Well, we have to understand the scroll bound in the great river. So just like the great river Euphrates, okay, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river, we have to understand this prophecy and what it's talking about in order to come to terms with who the kings of the East are. Okay? It is in the judgments on Babylon. Okay? So loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates, which is a metaphor to our what? Euphrates scroll of Jeremiah 50 and 51. Okay, Jeremiah 50, 51. Jeremiah commanded Sariah, the son of Neriah. All right, so there you're reading Jeremiah 50, 51, and I'm holding in my hand his seal impression, okay, of Sariah. And Jeremiah wrote the book, which is chapters 50 and 51, which is a scroll. Okay, he wrote the scroll of all the evil that should come upon Babylon. Verse 61, and told Sariah to read the words. And when he made an end of reading the book, bind, just like the angels were bound, he was to bind. He was to bind the scroll, bind the book to a stone, attach it to a stone, and cast it into the midst of the Euphrates. So that's what this is talking about the 4 angels are bound to the Euphrates. So it is in the scroll of Jeremiah 50, 51 that we see, verse 64, thus shall Babylon sink and not rise. Okay, well, if this is so, we should see where are the 4 angels. Well, they're the kings of the Medes, kings of the East, okay? And they're described as 4 angels, and those 4 angels are seen, Jeremiah 51, 27, set up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet. Okay, so clearly you see the 6th trumpet being blown. Prepare the nations against her, Babylon. Call the kingdoms of Ararat, Mini, Ashkenaz. Appoint a captain. Cause the horses to come up as rough caterpillar or locust. So this is the war, guys. This is what's going on. I know you don't understand this, but this is the locust army that the 4 angels are fighting. This is the war that's going on. Okay, they're the locusts of Revelation 9, verse 3. The locust army is making war against the 200 million army. Okay? These are the 4 angels, Ararat, Mini, Ashkenaz, and the kings of the Medes. Prepare war against the nations with the kings of the Medes. These are the kings of the East, guys. They are the captains, the governors, and rulers of the Lord of Hosts army, blowing the trumpet, preparing the nations, war on Babylon. Babylon is fallen. Okay? Now, if this is true and our interpretation is right, we should see the other aspects of the great river Euphrates being dried up, and we do. Where is the dried waters? Jeremiah 50, verse 38. A drought is upon her waters. They are dried up. Okay, so just like the great river Euphrates even now is being dried up, okay, there's been drought. You guys know in the southwest United States, it's drought. Why? For it is the land of graven images. Okay, so yes, Babylon was by the Euphrates. Okay, that's actually happening. The great river Euphrates is being dried up, and Babylon is not just Iraq. Okay, it is Jeremiah 50:51 is talking about the United States, and these judgments are a sign, a physical sign for us to see, and it's judgments in war, Armageddon. Okay, so Armageddon is going to be the locust. The locusts are those that are taking the mark of the beast. Okay, and you can see the mark of the beast in Jeremiah 50:37. Those who have taken the mark are described as a mixed race. Okay, the sword is upon the horses and the chariots and all the mingled people. Okay, mingled people is Arab. Okay, it means a mixture, mixing human DNA with angel DNA. It's a mixture, as in days of Noah. It's called a mongrel race. Also used as Arabia, mixed people, or a mixed company, mixed multitude. Okay, that means their DNA has been changed. They're a mixed race. So that's the mark of the beast being destroyed. And the kings of the east shall destroy Babylon. Jeremiah 51 verse 10. Yahweh, Aleph Tav, brought forth our righteousness. Come, let us declare in Zion the work of Aleph Tav, Yahweh Elohim, the Lord our God. Verse 11, make bright. Let's get that up. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields of Yahweh Aleph Tav. Raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, the kings of the east, against Babylon. His plan is to destroy it because the vengeance of Yahweh, it is the vengeance for his temple. This is what we've been saying, that the glory of Yahweh has filled the temple in Revelation 15. Now we're in the time of the bowls. When you have the time of the bowls, it's for the vengeance of his temple. So let's keep going. We also have the order of the kings of the east and clear prophecy in Isaiah the prophet. So in the book of Isaiah the prophet, his bulla, his seal impression, here's a replica that you can see that was discovered. We see in Isaiah chapter 41 the kings of the east. Who are the kings of the east? We can also see it in Isaiah. So in Isaiah chapter 41, verse 2, who raised up the righteous, Zedek, from the east. Okay, so this is them coming from the east, them described as the east, the kings of the Medes, okay, the kings of Persia, and he called him to his foot, and he gave the nations before him and made him to rule over kings. So the kings of the earth, okay, are the nations, the Goyim, okay? And there's another class of people that are like magi before the king, Alpha and Omega, Lord Jesus Christ. And these people are before his feet, and he gives the nations to these kings of the east. And he shall give them as dust to his sword, and driven as stubble to his bow. Okay? And he pursued them, and they passed safely. So this is the dried river. By the way, to make way for the kings of the east. So what the dried river represents, okay, it's a physical sign we can actually see. It represents the parting of the waters. It represents the children of Israel crossing the Red Sea. Okay, the way of the kings of the east. All right, that he had not gone with his feet. Verse 4, who have wrought and done it, calling generations from the beginning. I, Yahweh, the first, resound, and with Aleph Tav, the last, Acheron, am he. So it is Yahweh that is performing this great mystery. Okay, Yahweh, the Aleph and the Tav, okay, in Jeremiah 41, and so the carpenter. All right, so you remember the carpenters? These are just random verses of scripture that mean nothing, right? No. So the carpenter encouraged the goldsmith. The goldsmith means those that are tried by fire. And he that smote with the hammer. Okay, he that smote with the hammer, him that smote with the anvil. Okay? I will plant in the wilderness the cedar, the shittah tree, and the myrtle. Who's myrtle? Hadassah. Who's Hadassah? Esther. So here we see the myrtle, here we see the carpenter, here we see the way of the kings of the east. Verse 25, I have raised up from the north, and he shall come from the rising of the sun. Okay, these are the kings that come from the rising of the sun, east. He shall call upon my name and come upon the princes as a omer. All right, what's an omer, guys? An omer we explained to you before, and the offerings. So these princes, they bring offerings. An offering is an omer. It's like an ephah. It's a pottery jar. I'll just show you briefly. Okay, like the pottery jar I'm showing you, the big one is an omer. Okay, now what is the omer? The omer is the pottery jar that they will dash in pieces. They will come upon princes as an omer, as a potter treads the clay. So this is Revelation 2:27. Potter's vessel will be broken. This is the eklektos, guys. These are the elect. That's who the kings of the east are. Now, many of you may even have this verse on your refrigerator, and you have no idea what it means. But leading into the kings of the east, the verse heading into Isaiah 41, talking about the kings of the east, is, of course, Isaiah 40:31. Those that wait upon Yahweh shall change. Many say renew, but actually in Hebrew it means change their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. Okay, these are the eagle's wings in Revelation 12:14. Okay, so within Isaiah 41, yes, the prophecy of the eagle's wings, those that wait upon Yahweh, and Israel is my servant, Jacob whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend, whom I have taken from the ends of the earth. So the Euphrates is also the promised land. You see, the promised land is from the Nile to the Euphrates. Isaiah 27:12. In that day, from the river Euphrates to the river of Egypt, okay, Yahweh will thresh out the grain, and you will be gleaned. Okay, you will be separated, the wheat from the tares, one by one, O people of Israel. Verse 13. In that day, the great trumpet shall be blown. Okay, so who are the kings of the east? They are the elect. They are the eklektos, leading the Lord of hosts army in the order of Armageddon. Armageddon is the kings of the Medes and Persians. Okay, these are the Magi. These are the wise men. Okay, in the king's council. All right, that's who it is, guys. This is what the prophecy says. Whether you can see it or understand it, I don't know what to say, but I'm just reading the Bible. I'm showing you 5 witnesses to who are the kings of the east. We'll have the notes available to you guys. So definitely get the notes on this fascinating study of who are the kings of the east, the 4 horse riders, the 4 horns, the 4 carpenters. Okay, we have the order of Michael and Gabriel, okay, where we have these wars and clashes in the spirit realm, and Daniel, okay. And they are clashes of war. Michael and his angel fought against the dragon, defeated them. Okay, but now it's also the cup of his indignation and judgments upon the earth, and World War III is coming, guys. So, guys, thanks for watching. We'll post the notes. It is 4 pages. It's a lot to go over. There's a whole lot more than I didn't get to in this video. But thanks for watching. Fear God. Give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him that made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the fountains of waters.